Imagine this. A big crowd is watching. Millions of people are looking at their screens, and the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, is about to speak. He is young, brave, and everyone is waiting for his words. But then something happens that nobody expects. An American politician, a man with a loud voice and a serious face, walks right onto the stage. He does not wait for anyone. He does not care about the cameras. He just walks up, grabs a microphone, and starts talking. The whole world is watching. The crowd is silent. What will happen next? Will there be a fight? Will the president get angry? Or will something even more shocking happen? This is the story of that day, and what happened next will surprise you. President Traoré stands tall. He does not blink. He does not move back. He looks straight at the American. The American, Mr. Johnson, points his finger. "The world is watching you," he says. "We want answers. Are you a real leader?" The crowd holds its breath. Some people are scared. Some are angry. Some are excited. But President Traoré does not shout. He does not argue. He smiles. Just a small smile. He says, "In my country, we do not fight with words. We tell stories. Stories have power. Stories can teach. Stories can change us." The crowd is shocked. Mr. Johnson is confused. He has never seen a leader answer a challenge with a story. But President Traoré is not finished. He says, "Let's have a contest. You tell a story from your country. I will tell a story from mine. Let the people decide which story is better." Mr. Johnson laughs. He thinks this is a joke. "But the people want to hear." Mr. Johnson starts. He tells a story about a man who works hard, makes money, and becomes rich. He talks about big houses, fast cars, and winning. "In my country, if you work hard, you can have anything," he says. The crowd listens, but they do not clap. They wait for President Traoré. President Traoré starts his story. He speaks clear and strong. Once there was a lion. He was strong and proud. He thought he was the best. But a small hare came to him and said, "You may be strong, but you are not wise." The lion laughed. The hare said, "Let's race. If you win, I will serve you. If I win, you must listen to me." The lion agreed. The race began. The lion ran fast, but the hare was clever. He took a shortcut and won. The lion was shocked. The hare said, "Strength is good, but wisdom is better." From that day, the lion listened to the hare. The crowd explodes with claps. Some people stand up. Mr. Johnson is surprised. He did not expect a simple story to have such power. President Traoré looks at Mr. Johnson. Sometimes the smallest voice teaches the biggest lesson. Sometimes the strongest person is not the one who shouts, but the one who listens. Mr. Johnson is quiet. He thinks about the story. He remembers times when he did not listen. He looks at President Traoré. "Your story is simple, but it is true. Maybe I have something to learn from you." But President Traoré is not done. He says, "Let me tell you another story. In my country, we have a story about the tortoise and the river. The river is fast and strong. It wants to reach the sea quickly. The tortoise is slow. The river laughs at the tortoise, but the tortoise keeps moving step by step. One day, the river comes to a big rock. It cannot pass. The tortoise finds a way around the rock. In the end, the tortoise reaches the sea, while the river is still stuck. The lesson is patience and determination are better than speed and strength." The crowd listens. Some people nod. Some people smile. Even Mr. Johnson smiles. "I see now that your stories are not just for children. They are for everyone. They teach us how to live." President Traoré nods. "In Africa, stories are our teachers. They help us remember who we are. They help us solve problems. They help us find peace." The crowd claps again. People feel proud of their culture. They feel proud of their president. Mr. Johnson stands up. "I came here to challenge you. I thought I could teach you something. But today I am the one who has learned. I have learned that wisdom can come from anywhere. I have learned that listening is sometimes more important than speaking." President Traoré smiles. "We are all students in the school of life. We all have something to learn from each other." The two men shake hands. The crowd cheers. People watching on TV feel inspired. They see that even people from different countries with different ideas can learn from each other if they listen and share. But the story does not end there. The cameras are still rolling. The world is still watching. Suddenly, a young girl from the crowd stands up. She is holding a small drum. She walks to the front and says, "Can I tell a story too?" The crowd is surprised. President Traoré nods. The girl begins. Once there was a bird who could not sing. All the other birds laughed at her. But one day a storm came. The wind was strong. The rain was heavy. The birds who could sing were scared. But the quiet bird was brave. She flew into the storm and found food for everyone. After the storm, the other birds thanked her. They learned that everyone has a gift, even if it is not easy to see. The crowd claps for the girl. President Traoré smiles at her. Thank you for your story. You are brave, just like the bird. Mr. Johnson looks at the girl. He says, in my country, we do not tell stories like this. Maybe we should. The girl smiles. The crowd laughs. The mood is lighter now. People are talking, sharing, and smiling. But then, a man in the back shouts, stories are nice, but what about real problems? What about hunger? What about jobs? The crowd goes quiet again. President Traoré does not get angry. He says, you are right. Stories alone do not fill empty stomachs. But stories can give us hope. Stories can help us work together. Let me tell you one more story, he begins. There was once a village with no water. The people were thirsty. They argued about what to do. Some wanted to dig a well. Some wanted to walk to the river. They could not agree. One day an old woman said, let us work together. Some can dig. Some can carry water. Some can cook food for the workers. The people listened. They worked together. Soon they had a well and enough water for everyone. The lesson is, when we work together, we can solve big problems. The crowd claps again. The man in the back nods. He says, thank you, President. I understand now. Mr. Johnson steps forward. He says, I want to tell a story from my childhood. When I was young, I was afraid of the dark. My grandmother told me, do not fear the night. The stars are watching over you. One night I got lost. I looked up and saw the stars. I remembered her words. I found my way home. Sometimes a simple story can give us courage. The crowd listens. They see that Mr. Johnson is not just a politician. He is a person just like them. President Traoré says we all have fears. We all have dreams. Stories help us face our fears. Stories help us chase our dreams. The crowd is quiet, thinking about his words. Then a boy in the front row stands up. He says, can I ask a question? President Traoré nods. The boy asks, what is the most important story you have ever heard? President Traoré thinks for a moment. He says, when I was a boy, my father told me a story about a tree. The tree was small, but it grew strong because it bent with the wind. The lesson is, we must be strong, but we must also be flexible. Life will test us, but if we bend and do not break, we will grow. The boy smiles. The crowd claps. Mr. Johnson says, that is a good story. I will remember it. President Traoré looks at the crowd. He says, today we have shared stories. We have learned from each other. Let us not forget these lessons. Let us use them to build a better future. The crowd cheers. People feel hope. They feel proud. They feel ready to face the future. As the event ends, people leave the hall talking about what they saw. Some people call their families. Some people write about it online. The story spreads. In villages, people gather around fires and tell the story of the day the American politician interrupted the president, and how stories changed everything. In cities, teachers tell their students about the power of listening and sharing. In other countries, people watch the video and learn about African wisdom. President Traoré goes home that night. He sits with his family. His mother says, I am proud of you. You did not fight. You did not shout. You used stories to teach. President Traoré smiles. He says, I learned from you, mother. You always told me stories when I was sad or afraid. His mother hugs him. She says, never stop telling stories. The world needs them. Mr. Johnson returns to his hotel. He sits alone, thinking about the day. He writes a letter to his own children. He tells them about the lion and the hare, the tortoise and the river, the brave bird, and the strong tree. He writes, today I learned that real strength is not in power, but in wisdom. Real courage is not in shouting, but in listening. I hope you will remember these stories. The next day, newspapers around the world talk about what happened. Some people are surprised. Some people are inspired. Some people want to learn more about African stories. President Traoré is invited to speak in other countries. He tells more stories. He listens to stories from other cultures. He learns new lessons. He shares them with his people. In Burkina Faso, children start to tell more stories. They ask their parents and grandparents for old tales. They learn about their history. They learn about their heroes. They learn about hope. The country feels more united. People feel stronger. They believe they can solve their problems together. And so, the story of the American politician and the African president becomes a legend. It is told again and again. It grows with each telling. New lessons are added. New voices join in. The story never ends, because every day someone learns something new. Every day someone finds courage in a story. Every day someone remembers that wisdom can come from anywhere. If you ever feel lost, remember the stories of that day. Remember the lion and the hare, the tortoise and the river, the brave bird, the strong tree, and the people who listened and learned. Remember that you do not have to be the loudest or the strongest to make a difference. Sometimes all you need is a good story and an open heart. And that, my friends, is the story of the day an American politician interrupted President Ibrahim Traoré on live TV, and how stories, not shouting, changed everything. If you enjoyed this story, if you learned something new, or if you just love hearing powerful tales from Africa and around the world, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the subscribe button, tap the bell so you never miss a story, and join our family of story lovers. Every week we bring you more amazing stories. Stories that inspire, stories that teach, stories that make you think. So stay with us, keep listening, and remember, sometimes a simple story can change the world. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.